Good day and greetings to you all, wherever you're tuning in from. And thank you for joining us. Welcome to the fourth day of the inaugural Travel Retail Sustainability Week event and the second session of the day entitled Beyond Plastics, Sustainability from the Broader Perspective. I'm Michael Barrett, Head of Events and Corporate Social Responsibility here at TR Business, and I'm delighted to host this session once again alongside my colleague, Andrew Pentol, Senior Editor at TR Business. I want to start by thanking all the session sponsors again, and that's Arianta International, Brown-Forman, Coty, Mondelez International, and Ritter Sport. Andy will introduce the session in more detail and ask our panelists to introduce themselves in just a few moments. But concerning the sessions that we've been having so far this week, if you've missed any or want to watch some again, you can of course view all these sessions on demand just by clicking on the session name each day here on the event platform. It's been a really amazing journey this week through green pastures as we've navigated through both many of the solutions and sustainable initiatives underway through many of the sessions this week, but also through polluted waters when in yesterday morning's dealing with the plastic pollution problem, the social enterprise and NGOs involved highlighted the extent of the problem, but also gave us some hope with the solutions they're also implementing through awareness, education and advocacy. We do encourage all of you watching, all of you to watch that session if you missed it, and do get in touch with them, and of course with the Plastic Bank, whose CEO and founder gave the opening keynote speech on Monday. All of these organizations are working on your and my behalf, but they can't do it without the support of corporate partners. They all have sustainability networking hubs on this event platform also, so please do visit them and get in touch with them to find out more about how your company can get involved, whether by partnering with the Foundation for Environmental Education's programs to educate workers in source markets, or adopting Surfrider Foundation Europe's Ocean Zero app as your own company branded app, and encouraging your customers to reduce, reuse and recycle through a wonderful gamification app, or by working with the Plastic Bank to use social plastics in your recycled packaging, or by welcoming the Plastic Odyssey vessel on its world voyage to educate communities about plastic pollution and share some of the amazing recycling initiatives that they are making available as open source. There are lots of ways you can get involved, so please do get in touch with these wonderful organizations and equally wonderful people. And of course, we've now seen all 4 sustainability pitch sessions revealing the companies that have achieved Travel Retail Sustainability Trailblazer and Hero status. Congratulations to Beam Suntory and Guerlain for achieving the 4-star Travel Retail Sustainability Trailblazer status in today's sustainability pitch session. And of course to Brown-Forman and Join the Pipe for achieving the Travel Retail Sustainability Hero status. Both companies are taking part in this session, so we'll be able to get immediate live reaction from both Suzette and Stefan on this wonderful accolade, as well as from Suvi from Altia, who achieved Trailblazer status in Monday's sustainability pitch session. As we announced yesterday, given the immensely positive feedback we've received on this program, we're going to continue celebrating sustainable initiatives. The Sustainability Pitch program will remain open to any company wishing to submit a proposal to our resident panel of judges. A number of judges have already requested to be involved going forward, so we're delighted to launch this ongoing initiative already with such strong endorsements. We'll be announcing more details on how the Sustainability Pitch program will operate on trbusiness.com very soon, so do stay tuned. As you may have read on trbusiness.com this morning, Anson Bailey, Head of Consumer and Retail Asia Pacific and Head of Technology, Media and Telecoms Hong Kong at KPMG, will be taking part in the closing keynote session, which is scheduled for tomorrow, Friday, the 23rd of April at 11:30 a.m. UK time. Anson was unable to make it for Monday's keynote, so he'll be sharing the latest KPMG insights on sustainability from both a consumer and investor perspective in a session entitled Living in a More Sustainable World. So do tune into that tomorrow. And also reported in that story on trbusiness.com this morning, TR Business has partnered with earthday.org to bring the Earth Day live stream event to the global travel retail sector via our own sustainability platform. World Earth Day. Each year on this day, the 22nd of April, is the event around which the Travel Retail Sustainability Week has been organised. So we look forward to bringing you the live feed of that event, which will commence immediately after the close of today's final session at around 6 p.m. UK time. As you will have heard me say already this week at the beginning of each session, Nigel Hardy and Janice Hook, TR business owners and managing directors, wanted to make a strong commitment to driving the industry sustainability agenda and make all aspects of this event, both the webinar program and the networking opportunities, totally free of charge to you all. They wanted to facilitate the knowledge sharing on these vital topics and ensure you meet with the companies investing in sustainable solutions and continue the conversation on sustainability with both current and potential new partners. But that would not be possible without the support of all the companies who have supported this inaugural Travel Retail Sustainability Week. So our thanks to all of the companies who have made this event possible. And these are Altia, Arianta International, Beam Suntory, Brown-Forman, Coty, Dufry, Fraas, Guerlain, Join the Pipe, Chris Shop, Lego, L'Occitane en Provence, L'Oréal Travel Retail, Molton Brown, Mondelez International, Moroccan Oil, Nestle, Pure Essential, Ritter Sport, and Silent Pool Gin. So thanks to all of you for your support. Before I hand over to Andrew, just a few more housekeeping notes. You can still visit all the partner sustainability networking hubs this week, and of course for the next few months, during which the event platform will remain open. There are a number of airports, retailers, brands, social enterprises, and NGOs, all with hubs. And you can message them or schedule appointments with them, see their videos, and download their sustainability reports and news. As well as the hub partners, you can also schedule appointments with each other through the attendees tab in the top menu or via the schedule appointment button on the main My Event page. Please do get in touch with us via our own virtual help desk hub, where our colleague Helen Chater will be able to answer any queries you may have, and just click on that join virtual meeting button you can see there anytime between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. UK time, and you can chat with Helen or leave us a message and we'll get back to you. Finally, audience participation has been really good all week. So please do take this opportunity to question the speakers about their sustainability achievements and plans. The Q&A button is there on the right-hand side of your screen. So without any further ado, I'm now going to hand over to Andrew Penthall, who will introduce this session and our panelists. Over to you, Andy.
Thanks, Michael, for the introduction. It's a pleasure to co-moderate this session with you, and I'd like to extend a warm welcome to all our viewers from around the world on Earth Day 2021. I would also like to once again thank our session sponsors, Arianta International, Brown-Forman, Coty, Mondelez, and Ritter Sport, and give a big shout out to all our partners without whom this groundbreaking event would not be possible. Before I introduce today's session entitled Beyond Plastics, Sustainability from the Broader Perspective, and ask our speakers to give a brief introduction, I would like to share some significant breaking news with you all. Michael, myself, and the entire TR Business team are delighted to announce the return of Travel Retail Sustainability Week next year. The event, which has gained plaudits from travel retail stakeholders and the travel and tourism industry, will coincide with Earth Day 2022, which falls on Friday, April the 22nd. The 5-day Travel Retail Sustainability Week programme will commence on the Monday leading up to Earth Day, which falls on April the 18th. When planning this year's Travel Retail Sustainability Week, it was always the intention to coincide it with Earth Day, which is an international event celebrated around the world to pledge support for environmental protection. We are delighted to be able to do the same again next year and look forward to bringing you more information on the programme and event format in due course. Back now to today's session, which provides an excellent opportunity to continue the discussion around plastic pollution and to perhaps focus on other elements such as emissions and different forms of pollution. Throughout this week, we have talked about the seriousness of plastic pollution and the potential solutions, and rightly so, but there are lots of other forms of pollution as well. One source I spoke to recently described these other forms of pollution as invisible pollutants. Perhaps some of these elements will come up in this session today. During this discussion, we will hear from Brown-Forman on the company's recently updated sustainability strategy and Altia on the evolution of its Koskenkorva sustainable vodka and issues such as regenerative farming. Rittersport will also tell us how it has refined and developed its cocoa sourcing strategy, among other things, while John the Pipe will reveal all there is to know about the water taps and bottles it produces. Last, but by no means least, we will be treated to some valuable insights from a sustainability consultant with 10 years travel retail experience, who will discuss issues surrounding sustainability reporting and how sustainability from a broader perspective encompasses a holistic approach. I would now like to invite all of our speakers to give a brief introduction of themselves and their companies. And I'd like to kick things off with Suzette at Brown-Forman. Suzette, the platform is yours.
Hello, everyone, and thank you on behalf of Brown-Forman and our Global Travel Retail Organization for inviting us to be a part of this panel discussion to share our journey and to learn from our colleagues on the panel as we work collectively to provide fantastic products to our travelers while considering sustainability. I lead our sustainability strategy globally, ensuring that Brown-Forman integrates sustainability throughout the entire organization, from how we govern on sustainability to how we embed it in operations, talking about some of what you just said, how do we minimize our pollution, to working with sales and marketing and developing programs to connect with our customers and consumers. And I've been with Brown-Forman for over 15 years and watching the evolution of the program and looking forward to talking about the evolution of our strategy. You know, when you talked about the trailblazers and the heroes, I was very excited that we were recognized. And in our pre-conversation, there was one comment that says, once you're working on sustainability, you know, you're a hero, and because we're all in this journey together. And so, you know, while I graciously accept the recognition on behalf of Brown-Forman, I also recognize that we're all on this journey together. And thank you so much for watching our sustainability pitch on renewable energy and our partnerships. And I'm just looking forward to sharing with everyone what we're doing and learning from others. Thank you.
Thank you, and once again, congratulations on achieving hero status. I'd now like to hand over to Suvi at Altia. Suvi, just to give a little introduction about yourself and the company.
Yes, hi. My name is Suvi Reinikkala, and I'm the head of brand marketing at Altia Company, a leading alcoholic beverage company in the Nordics. And thank you so much for having us part of this panel as well. And I am here to talk about our sustainability efforts as a company that led us to launch world's first regeneratively farmed vodka, a project that has not only changed the way we operate as a company, but also the way we do marketing. So agriculture constitutes about a third of global carbon emissions, and our main raw material for vodka is barley, which is a product of agriculture. We work daily with over 2,000 farmers, and we are the biggest barley producer in Finland, so we can do a lot. We can change the way we farm and at the same time show the world that we can make a difference. So as a company, need to step up if the governments are going to do it. So real effort to make the necessary changes as a company is also what the consumers are asking for from companies today. So no greenwashing, actual actions that say loud and clear that we are willing to put in the time and the investment in order to lower the carbon footprint and have truly sustainable products and practices. So this is what today's marketing should be about. No more coming up with stories, but communicating about real things as a company.
Excellent. We look forward to hearing more about all of that later. And I'd now like to hand over to Hauke. Hauke, can you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Rittersport?
Yeah, for sure. Hello, everybody. Nice afternoon from the southern part of Germany. Yeah, I'm very thankful and would like to thank all of you to take part on the session here, because I think the sustainability topics are the most important topics in the next years for all of us. So yeah, I'm working for Rittersport and responsible there for the agricultural production. I think it's not quite normal that a chocolate company like us, who is producing more than 100 years chocolate and is exporting all over the world, is working in the agricultural sector. But for us as a family-owned company, sustainability is key, because otherwise it doesn't work as a family company. I think the sustainability aspects are the DNA of a family company. So for us, it's completely clear that we are depending very, very strong on our raw materials. And it's impossible to make an indulgent product, a sustainable product, a lovely product without the real raw materials which we'll use for the product. So yeah, we are working on the right way to do the right things in chocolate, and I'm very keen on the discussion later on here, and we'll show you a little bit how Rittersport is doing its sustainability business in chocolate.
Great, looking forward to it. And I'd now like to invite Stefan. Stefan joined the pipe to introduce himself and the company. Stefan, are you there? I think we might have lost Stefan. Are you on mute?
Yes, no, I do apologize. Good afternoon and good morning to everybody. I'm Stefan Giraud. I'm the travel retail director of John the Pipe. What is John the Pipe? We are the first social network of tap water drinker with the dream of building the longest water pipe in the world. Long enough so that everyone or everywhere, people have access to clean drinking water. I will be delighted to explain to you a little better what we do in the next coming minutes.
Thank you, and once again, congratulations for achieving sustainability hero status in our fourth and final pitch session earlier today. And last but by no means least, I'd like to invite Jelena to introduce herself.
Thank you, Andrew. It's my pleasure to be with you today. My name is Jelena Lefebvre. I'm a sustainability consultant with over 10 years of experience in travel retail industry. So I had a chance to work with all stakeholders in the industry, studying over probably 100 RFPs on the brand side, working on brand's positioning, business plans, and communication to the consumer. And on the side of retailers, I had many missions, starting from business development and strategy to M&As and integration, operational efficiency, and action plans to investments and feasibility studies. Today, I support all stakeholders in the industry to improve or to start their sustainability reporting in order to improve their impacts on environment, economy, and society on one side, and on the other side to identify their operational efficiency improvements, improve their image, and engage with stakeholders to create a win-win solution and a partnership for sustainable growth. During this session, I will be happy to discuss with you the importance about sustainability reporting and how smart partnerships are helping us to overcome the challenges that we are facing in travel retail industry, and finally how sustainability can create profitability and a resilient industry. So looking forward to it. Thank you.
Excellent. So to kick things off, I'd like to go to Suzette. And Suzette, I just was wondering if you could just tell us all a little bit about Brown-Forman's recently updated sustainability strategy, which I believe takes the company through to 2030. And perhaps how does the third version of your sustainability strategy maybe differ from some of the others?
Sure, Andrew. So we've recently launched our new sustainability strategy that takes us to 2030 and in some cases beyond. But, you know, for it, sometimes it's a little hard to see all the way out to 2045. So, you know, anchoring at 2030 serves us well. And what happened is that when we started to look at the actual physical environment, as well as business changes, regulatory changes, consumer and other stakeholder expectations, we realized that it was time to make a change. And additionally, our existing targets were expiring. So putting all of that together and with everything that we're seeing, particularly in climate, we knew that we needed a greater sense of urgency and also raised ambitions. And so with that, we set about doing this new strategy that focused on our material environmental areas. And so for us, that is in making of our wines and spirits, it's definitely on climate and water and circular economy, which we have transitioned from just speaking about waste to circular economy, which is one thing that's different for us. And then even within supply chain, we decided that we needed to now set targets. And so for us, the most important areas were on packaging, sustainable packaging, and sustainable forestry and sustainable agriculture. And just like I heard one of our other panelists, regenerative agriculture is important to us. And so as we set these focus areas, there are a couple of things that we saw that were a little different than before. With longer horizons, we needed to put in interim targets. So that's different for us. And then additionally, this new strategy goes throughout the entire organization. Before we had a focus particularly on operations and what we could control, but now we're expanding out. So you'll start to see us doing more partnerships. For example, our work with Altea, just more partnerships to work together on achieving sustainable outcomes. And so that's one of the differences for us. And then targets that are just in some cases, the ambitions are very high, just like the rest of the industry and other companies, very high ambitions that are going to push us to do more because the challenges are great. So that's some of the changes for us in terms of our new strategy.
And which you mentioned quite a lot of different elements there. Maybe I could ask you which ones are you most excited about? There's a lot of, I can just hear the feeling in your voice and the smile. There's a lot.
So I'm excited about all of them for different reasons, but I'll tell you, I'm excited about sustainable packaging for one, because that is one area that extends throughout the entire organization, and that is an area that once we start to embed more sustainability and it becomes visible in our packaging in upcoming years, our customers and consumers can see it, because we do a lot of great work in our operations. But once we start to make changes in packaging, which has a big footprint, it excites us because it also excites Brown-Forman in terms of innovation and creativity. So I'm excited about that. I'm also excited about agriculture because that's directly working with farmers, and that allows us to get into not just environment, but the people side of the business too. So I like that, and I'm all about climate, and with climate, I'm looking forward to seeing all of the new innovations that are unfolding that we can adopt in our own organization. So those are some of the things that excite me, but I'm excited about them all, actually.
I think we can really feel it. And I'd like to just bring in Suvi. Suvi, can you just tell us a little bit about the sustainability strategy at Altea? And also, I'm sure, I know I am, but I know our viewers will be as well, to hear about the evolution of the Koskenkorva vodka. So
yes. So can you hear me? Yeah, good. So I will start with the Koskenkorva brand, because sustainability is actually in the DNA of the whole brand, because when it was launched in the 1950s, the first batch was already made from leftover potato peels back in the day. So we kind of have it in the DNA of the brand already back then. But we have been working very hard ever since then on our sustainable practices. In 2014, we launched our first bioenergy plant at our distillery, which we are super proud of. And that basically means that we fully utilize the barley grain in the production, so that only small part of the barley grain is used for ethanol production. Then what is left is used for animal feed or paper production, or the peels are used as a fuel to run the bioenergy plant. And then the rest that comes out is the ash that actually goes back into the fields to fertilize the fields and grow more barley. So we already have a full running circular economy in our distillery that we are very, very proud of. On top of that, we already have 99.9% recycling rate. And for that, we won a Green Company of the Year award in 2018. And so we already have a lot of sustainability work in place. However, our ambition doesn't stop there, because we have super ambitious goals for our sustainable efforts in the future as well. to mention carbon neutral production, fully carbon neutral production by 2025, and also 100% recycled packaging by 2025. And I share the same passions which you said when it comes to packaging. That's a big part of our passions in the future. We aim to use more recycled glass, reduce the weight of our glass bottles, search for paper options and so forth to lower our packaging carbon footprint. But on top of that, we also aim to constantly launch low alc, no alc, less sugar products. That's part of sustainability as well, to be as healthy as possible. And lastly, the regenerative farming project is a huge passion for us as a company, since we are building that in the long run and training farmers to use that method more and more. So we have our LCA calculations in place, and we have full metrics of the targets, and we are aiming for by 2025.
Right, thank you for that comprehensive overview there. Just on regenerative farming, do you believe that regenerative farming will become mainstream? And is there training being offered on it in terms of like what in terms of your company perspective?
Yes, that's the ambition that we have. Obviously, it's very early stages for us, since it's the pilot project that we are working on now. We are working with the PSAG, which is a non-profit Finnish organization and owner of a regenerative pilot project in Finland. And we are constantly following the effectiveness of that method. We are training the farmers. So we aim to increase the amount of regenerative farming as much as possible, but this stage is early stages, and it's hard to say how fast we can get there, but that is definitely the aim. And also be a forerunner as a company for the whole industry to help other companies to move in that direction as well, because we can't do it alone. So.
Okay, and staying with regenerative farming, it's probably a good time now to bring in Hauka. Hi there. Would it be possible to give your thoughts on regenerative farming? Just your thoughts on how this could progress in the future?
Yeah, for sure. As I mentioned before in the short introduction by myself, I think it's quite important for a chocolate producer that you take care of your raw materials in your value and your supply chain. And every day, every morning, and for me the question is what is needed for doing the right to make really good chocolate. And it's not only the raw material, it's not only the quality of the raw material, it's not only the sensorical aspect of the chocolate, it's also the people behind the raw material, which are working with the raw material, which are working in the raw material. And for Rittersport, for us, the question is, what can we do to make a whole sustainable supply chain for our raw materials, where every partner, every people in the supply chain can live in a very healthy and suitable condition. And I'm very proud that we have a family inside our company which founded the company, and the initiative for growing cocoa or for sourcing cocoa is more than 30 years ago. It was the initiative of the family. And we started sourcing directly in Nicaragua, directly with farmers, with cooperatives. And the development of this partnership is increasing very, very fantastic. So it's only the need, the initiative which has to be put on the table that you can change anything in your value chain, in your supply chain. And at the end of the day, after 30 years partnership in Nicaragua, we are own farmers with a very, very large farm for cocoa in the agroforestry system. Hopefully, I can share a few slides later on, a little bit about the impressions there. But I think it's a logical result if you're working in raw material supply chains. If you want to do the really thing good, you have to do it by your own, and you have to keep the partnerships very, very intensive. So every day you have to work with a partnership level with all your suppliers.
You mentioned some key words there, partnership and supply chain. Can you just elaborate a little bit on how significant are these partnerships and transparent supply chains from the consumer perspective, maybe?
Yeah, for sure. Every time if a chocolate consumer, a chocolate lover, a chocolate freak is asking me, where's your cocoa coming from? For me, it's a great pleasure to say, come on, my dear friend, we are going to the farmer where the cocoa is growing. So I'm not sure if there are many companies all over the world who are able or who are willing to show their consumers where the cocoa is coming from. And I think these thing is only possible if you have the consequent partnership and partnership on the same level of eyes, the real partnership. So if you have these partnerships, you are able to have a real transparent communication to your consumer. And yeah, that's a good thing that the consumer is always able to ask us, where are your raw materials from? And I can take him by the hand and bring him to the farm.
I believe also, Hauke, you might have some slides to share. Would now be a good moment maybe to...
Yeah, maybe. So I will change my screen. Hopefully you can see it. Please give me a short sign if it's okay. Can you see my screen?
Yep, I can see it at this end.
Okay, you can see the cacao fruits over there, right?
Yep, we can. Yep, it seems fine.
Okay, yeah, I have 3 charts. For us, it's completely clear. A good place for cocoa, people and nature can only be for healthy cocoa and healthy people if you are doing it with passion. And so I have 3 charts for you. One is El Cacao is our own farm. We are growing cocoa. It's located on the other side here in the Central America part in Nicaragua. We started there 8 years ago, and all over the place there are 2,500 hectares, which is a square of 5 by 5 kilometers to imagine. And for me, most impressive is that the company, the family is willing to share these area in 2 parts, more or less 2 parts. One is for growing cocoa in an agroforestry sustainable system, and the other part, 1,200 hectares, are only natural habitats for all the animals over there, which are in the primary forest living there. So we've implemented an agroforestry system certified by UTZ and Gold Standard for carbon emission, carbon credits generating over there. So El Cacao, our cacao farm, is carbon positive. It's quite interesting to have a farm which is carbon positive. And yeah, what are we doing there is with around about 500, 450 people, depends to the season, is that we are growing cocoa over there with all the people which are living in this area. We have our own education facility because it's not very easy to grow cocoa in a big style, in a modern style. But the cocoa culture in Latin America is very, very well. So it's a combination of maybe industrial approach from the German perspective, combined with the cocoa culture of the Latin Americas, and it's a fantastic combination. So we have the target to grow cocoa for around about 1/4 or 30% of our demand for cocoa mass, only at one site. Yeah, it's a big challenge, but we are on the journey. And yeah, what does it mean? El Cacao is a good place for sugar cocoa, for people and for nature. To bring it in a nutshell, we are also on the UN Sustainable Development Goals focused. So we have 100% agroforestry, a very high quality of cocoa because we selected all the plants by ourselves. We have a lot of cacao experience, not only on the farm, but in the country as well. And we are living innovation over there. Innovation in product, innovation in technology, innovation in education and everything. And that brings me to the people which are willing to work on the farm. We have very, very high qualified jobs. We are educating them. We have fair wages, very well paid, training, education for sure. Then something what is not very common in these regions, but which is self-explained for ourselves, is healthcare over there. We are willing to bring there to a health insurance. We have regional development with schools, with all the people in the villages around. And as I mentioned before, for the nature, it's also a good place because we are carbon positive, we have natural habitats. The biodiversity is increasing high because we started from the cattle farm, and the agroforestry system is quite more positive for biodiversity. So yeah, we are standing for agriculture that does the right thing. And that's a lovely place of El Cacao, and I can always repeat myself, everyone who is just in time in Nicaragua is able to come to visit and see the lovely world of cocoa. So I think that has been about El Cacao, and I can just stop my screen.
Hauke, you mentioned that you are carbon positive. That's on the cacao farm. What about when it comes to, because obviously a key ingredient to chocolate is milk. What about the cattle farms where you source your milk from? Because it was Stuart, he wasn't able to make the session the other day due to illness, but in the prep discussions around this event, he was telling me that one of the biggest pollutants for them as confectionery producer is the cows through the methane emissions. Do you have the same experience, or are you able to resolve that as well? And because I would imagine the carbon positivity doesn't go all that way.
Yeah, unfortunately, I haven't seen a carbon positive cattle farm today, but yeah, maybe in future, maybe. No, let's take a look back. If you mentioned that milk is one of the most important ingredients for chocolate, in my opinion, it isn't. So for sure, for milk chocolate, you need a lot of milk. But if you look to our cocoa selection, which is one of our ranges, which is very successful in the market, we only have 3 ingredients: cocoa, sugar, and the first one, a little bit of milk powder for the 55% Ghana selection. But if you're making really good chocolate, you do not need a lot of milk. And we have focused on these areas where we can influence a lot of. So we are looking for cocoa, we are looking for hazelnut forests for sure. And for milk, we are taking care that the milk is from the region where we're producing our chocolate in Germany.
Okay. The other question is regarding the education projects you have in Nicaragua. Obviously, in many source markets, whether it's beauty, confectionery, and many of the categories, the source markets are in developing countries where there are big problems with pollution, in particular plastic pollution. Does the education program go that far as well in educating the workers, but also the children in those communities about pollution issues as well?
Yeah, for sure. It's a whole package of education. It's not quite easy to start on all topics, but for sure, we are starting with learning reading and writing. It's not very common that every people is able to write or to read in these areas. And we have also education in, for sure, nutrification. Nutrition is quite important in such countries. We have education in health behavior. What can we do to stay healthy? We have also education in all the topics you mentioned before: pollution, sensible behavior with plastic, and so on. And yeah, it's quite new for this region. For example, we are collecting all our plastic and bring it to a recycle station. So the people were a little bit confused when we started why the crazy guys from Germany are collecting the plastic in the nature.
I can imagine, but that's great. It's great to hear.
Okay, I know he's been waiting patiently, so I think I'd like to bring in Stefan now. Hi, Stefan. Once again, many congratulations on your on achieving heroic status in our pitch session earlier. Can you just tell us a little bit about maybe about Join the Pipe, some of your bottles, the materials that are used, and also a little bit about your mission, which I understand focuses on 3 elements. I think it's refill, reuse, and reduce. So, Stefan, the platform's yours.
Yes, thank you very much. But first of all, I would like to send a big thanks to all the judges for voting for us. We are very proud and honored because we are a small company. We believe we are part of the solution of the single-use plastic bottle worldwide. The way we go is very simple. On one side, we promote tap water station. On the second element, we produce sugarcane bottles that can be customizable, and they are produced in sugarcane. They are bioplastic, and they are very important. They are reusable. And the third element that is important for us is to reinvest a part of the money that we do with this bottle and this tap water station to finance some projects in poor country. As you know, 800 million people today doesn't have access to water. So we do finance a project in Africa, in India, in all the country where the plastic soup is a real problem. Because to sell some bottles in rich country is one side. But if we don't tackle the problem at source, it will continue. As you know, there is a big plastic soup in the Pacific that is 5 times the size of France. And if we don't go to the source, we will never solve the problem. Maybe we can show a little video. Oli?
We at Join the Pipe offer an alternative for single-use packaged water bottles, City Water. City Water is a revolutionary new packaging concept which has been tested in Amsterdam, the Netherlands, with several huge stakeholders in the field of education, retail and hospitality. The University of Amsterdam, the largest university of the country, Hilton Hotel and many other hotels in the city, and the Albert Heijn, the leading supermarket of the Netherlands. The concept consists of three elements. First, we install a filling line at our factory to fill our reusable water bottles with locally produced, filtered and treated tap water and provide them with a sealing to ensure the quality and safety of it. Second, we then sell these reusable city bottles at an affordable price so that consumers don't have to buy expensive and polluting single-use PET bottles anymore, but instead can purchase a multi-use and trendy city bottle and refill it at one of our tap stations. These tap stations are for indoor and outdoor use, so the consumers can drink this fresh and clean drinking water for free. The concept of City Water is easily to adopt in any city of the world, as the bottles can be designed and embossed with the skyline of the city. It makes an attractive and sustainable bottle for visiting tourists and local inhabitants. Also, it can be printed with the logo of your organization. Join us now with City Water.
Yes, so as you can see, I mean, the big evolution for John the Pipe has been to produce some sugarcane bottle. That was since 1 or 2 years from us. Before we were producing BPA-free bottles, but now we are producing sugarcane bottles. And they can be printed, you can customize it. They are ideal for promotion, fellow workers. But most important, they can be delivered pre-filled with tap water or empty. And the bottles are made from BPA-free plastic and are dishwasher proof, which is very important for us. They are made in Holland and receive the Dutch Design Award from Sustainable and Innovative Design. For every bottle that we sell, one bottle is given in Africa. Yeah.
It's a great initiative, Stefan. And the same question I put to Hauke. Obviously, you've got these operations in Africa and India where I've seen the pictures, the pipes that you've dug, the wells that you've dug. Do you also extend that project not just to digging the water wells, but also educating the communities?
Oh yes, actually, we do city cleanups, for example, in poor country, but we also go to school and we distribute some reusable bottle to school, and we install some water pump as well, and we do the same in small village. But the first thing that we do is to educate people and to explain to them that they need to get rid of single-use plastic. But it's very difficult when you go to a country to explain these kind of things, so you need to educate them. And I have been very impressed by the presentation that we got during the week from Plastic Bank, from Plastic Odyssey, or from Surf Riding. So it's part of the solution that because in the next decade we will need to clean up this plastic soup. But the next challenge is how do we reduce this plastic, this single-use plastic from now, because we cannot continue that way.
No, for sure. But in terms of awareness and education, it's not just obviously in the source markets and in developing countries. It's also in developed countries where you're selling these bottles to international travelers. And there's a huge opportunity in airports today as travelers get back into airports, onto flights. The emotions are going to be running very high. And I think, travelers today are going to be more and more sensitive to messages with good news stories, like how to save the planet through your purchases. You've got a great object for a travel and tourism environment. We saw the branded, city branded, and it could be airport or airline branded, and so on. How do you, and how do you communicate the sustainable values of both the bottle, but also what you're doing in developing countries at the point of sale?
It's a very good question. Actually, we try to educate the salespeople, but then we use banners and we use a display where we try to explain in few words our motto. That means refill, reuse, reduce. We have some stickers on the bottle that explain so what we are trying to, the message that we are trying to send. But that's very true, that it's what you are saying, that and since the COVID crisis, I think that the people will be more and more careful about what they buy. I mean, you can see what we have been learning this week with San Francisco Airport that has decided to stop single-use bottle in an airport, knowing that they have 28 million passengers per year. I mean, there is really a big message to send to travelers.
For sure. And before we move on to Jelena, I'd like to throw that question also open to Suzette, Hauke, and Suvi. Through your own products, through all the sustainable sourcing, energy, packaging investments that you're making into the products, how do you communicate those sustainable values to the customer? I'd like to start with Suzette on that one.
Sure. And for us, we make a distinction between the customer and the consumer. You know, for a customer, it might be your Walmart and Targets and others, and the consumer is the ones who are drinking. But I'll say that the question that you posed earlier, I find very fascinating, because when I think of our Brown-Forman products, you know, if you're buying the larger size, we hope that you're not considering it single use. You know, I just wanted to mention that, you know, but it's definitely a challenge too, you know, in going towards sustainable materials, but then also balancing safety and other things that we need to consider. But I'll say this, you know, this is top of mind for us that we're working through now in terms of what kind of materials are acceptable. But in terms of talking to our customers, let me start with that. You know, and also because we talked about partnerships, you know, there's a lot of conversations that happen where in some cases it's we talk to our customers one-on-one based on the partnerships and relationships that we have to explain what we're doing in terms of our operations, and then further into, you know, where we're headed. And then in some cases it's like, so what could we possibly work on together? So I can think of an example where one of our US customers, we met with them, sustainability, the buyer, and they shared with us their resources on sustainability, and we walked away learning, oh, this is a resource that we can tap into. And so we end up being a part of that organization. So sometimes it works like that. And, you know, some of these changes happen slower. You know, granted, I think there's going to be a lot of acceleration of change coming up. And then with the consumer, it's a different story because, you know, one of the threads that I heard that, you know, making sure there's no greenwashing is sort of one of the underlying things that I think you're saying too. And how do you market? Now, for us, we do some on social media, and we're doing some in terms of on the website. But we know that the world of communicating to consumers is going to be opening up, and we're going to have to explore that. But I think where I'm seeing where we've had wins is when, say, for example, our brand ambassadors speak directly to our consumers, or we have activations and we have folks that speak directly to our consumers, I would say we haven't had big campaigns where we speak directly to consumers like on, you know, on TV ads. But I think this is an opportunity for us because consumers are starting to ask the question, and they're looking for transparency and they're looking for authenticity. And so, you know, I've always learned in this area, if you don't speak, people assume nothing is happening. So this is one area that I look forward to us telling our story more.
Absolutely. And in the next session, Mindset are going to be sharing their research about, you know, how consumers are actively seeking more information, and more education about the sustainable values of products. And I was thinking, as you're answering that about the staff, you know, has there been to date part of it in the brand ambassador training programs? is sustainable. I know that you've got the responsible retail training aspects, training program that you obviously subscribe to, so that the brand ambassadors are aware about that side of responsibility. But when it comes to responsibility towards the environment and the sustainable attributes, are they trained up to date? Have they been trained up on those elements, and obviously to communicate those to customers, or is that something that will now be in the planning?
I think it varies by brand how much training has happened. I know for one of our larger brands, they're full steam ahead because I get the emails every day of the training that's happening, but I think it varies in terms of, how the brand communicates on sustainability. I know, I think of our Finlandia brand, I know has a campaign that I can visualize it, where they're speaking to consumers and talking about how to use the materials to make cocktails, which is on their website. And so those ambassadors, I know Jack Daniels is in the process of doing that, because the Jack ambassadors are very much attuned to what the consumers are asking for. But it varies by brand how much they tell the story and when they tell, as well as when they tell it. But I think, to your point, as consumers start asking for it, there'll be more delivery of that. But that's one of those more exciting things to come.
Indeed. And Suvi?
It's also like a package of, here's the delivery of the bottle, and here's how you make the drinks with sustainability in mind.
Right. Okay. And Suvi, would you like to share about how Altia communicates this?
Yes,
obviously,
because we are very passionate about this matter, and we are working very hard communicating these facts to the consumer. I just want to start by the plastic bottle thing here in the Nordics, because I think it's a little bit different to other markets in general, because the national deposit system that we have in all of the Nordics, it basically works in a way that consumers, when they buy a plastic bottle, it has, let's say, 40 cents of a deposit in it. So when they return it to the store, they get the 40 cents back. So that motivates every consumer in the Nordics to return all the plastic bottles, so they never end up in a nature, they never end up in a trash. It's recycled, which means that the carbon footprint of a plastic bottle in the Nordics is actually quite low in general. So we don't have that much of a problem with plastic, but we communicate that to the consumer, so they understand that when we talk about because there's a lot of talk about plastic globally and the problems, which is true, but it's less of a problem in the Nordics, and the consumers need to understand that. So we run a company level communication on that for one, but then we communicate a lot through brands. And Koskenkorva is one of these hero brands. We have a whole communication platform which is called Drink Sustainably, that we are just launching now. And under that platform, we communicate all of the sustainability efforts that we had. It's everywhere. It's on travel retail boards. It's on trade. It's digital advertising. So we tell a holistic story of our sustainability efforts to a consumer in a 360 communication platform kind of a way. And regenerative farming is only, or the climate action vodka that we just launched is just one of these angles that we are taking under the platform. And in the packaging as well, we will have stickers, neck hangers, everything telling the sustainability story that we have as a brand. So we will run a holistic campaign on that.
And the name itself, the world's most sustainable vodka, kind of carries a pretty strong message as well.
Yes, so it's but it's a challenge, because we try to make it entertaining. Sustainability can be really boring, and we want it to be something that is easy to understand, easy to grasp, and also our industry is all about fun. So we try to make it a little bit more entertaining than just running through boring numbers. So that's a communication challenge that we have too.
It might be the right time to show that video, actually.
Yes, we can do that now. That's one part of it, so go ahead.
Should we have that?
Sure. So Ollie.
Oh meillä on esimerkiksi ohra, sinne alle kylvetään heinä tai apila. Ohra puidaan pois hyvissä ajoin ennen talvea, mutta apilalle jää vielä 2-3 kuukautta aikaa kasvaa, jolloin me saadaan yhtettävä pinta-alaa myöskin sen satokasvin jälkeen.
Oikeastaan meillä on mahdollisuus olla aikamoisia ilmastosankareita tällä työllä, jos me halutaan.
So that was a really blatant message on the bottle itself about the world's most sustainable climate action vodka. Tell us a bit about the story there.
Yeah, we wanted to make it easy to understand. The regenerative is kind of a different or a difficult matter as it is, so we wanted to kind of make it really easy in the name so consumers understand what we aim for, but if they want to go more deeper, they can find more information. But yeah, it's an ambitious project for us, and basically it started out with the fact that yes, 27% of global emissions is coming from agriculture. So we figured, of course, it makes sense for us because our raw material is barley. We are the biggest barley producer, barley buyer in Finland, vodka producer in Finland. We work with 2,000 farmers, so it makes complete sense that we start doing something about it because we can really make a difference. It was big project. It requires a lot of partnerships. We could never ever done it alone. So it started out with collaborating with BSHE, the non-profit organization in Finland, Baltic Sea Action Group, which is the owner of regenerative farming pilot project in Finland. And they work with a lot of big companies to help companies to become more environmentally friendly. So collaborating with they first, and then we wanted to find a farmer. We needed to find a farmer to be ambitious enough to take on this project with us. And we found this person called Jari Eerola, who was just in this film. And this project took over 2 years of our time on trying to make it happen. And it wasn't easy, and it required a lot of work inside Altia and within the different teams. And the biggest thing is to find a farmer who is able to produce 50 tons of regeneratively farmed barley, establish the way that it's actually farmed, because it's the first time anybody was doing it. So we can actually claim that it is done by the standards of regenerative farming, and also establish it as a long-term project, minimum 5 years. It's a long-term project, so after years we are able to actually measure how it will then work. It's done by the standards of BSHE, and they audit the process all the time throughout the years and evaluate the actual results of it. And as said, it's a long-term passion of ours, so we continue educating all our farmers, trying to increase this method and evaluate how it works and develop it further. And that is how we do it.
And how's the consumer uptake been on the campaign, the Climate Action Vodka?
It has been amazing. The amount of the global recognition that we've gotten out of this process has been surprisingly good. We won the Good Advertising Award with it. The product was named top 4 innovative spirits innovations in the world by Spirits Business. And we received a lot of PR throughout the globe, and a lot of contacts as well, like how do you do it? Could we do it as well? And all that. So we really were the first to be there, and now we are just passionate about getting everybody else to join us on this journey.
Has it boosted listings in travel retail?
We have just launched, so I can't tell you any sales numbers yet. So we have to wait for that a little bit.
I'd like to throw that question just to Hauke quickly about the consumer communications and how you are communicating the sustainable values.
Yeah, thank you. I like very much the differentiations that brought up between consumer and customer, because I think there's a different communication if you're talking to a consumer, if you're talking to a customer. So if we are looking to our consumers, because they are the people who are eating the chocolate all the day, I think it's very, very important to bring a communication on the way, which goes on all over the social media channels, which is going directly to the head of the consumer. And the most important for me is that it's communication in an authentic way. So if you talk about sustainability, the consumer has to get the impression that you're acting, that you're doing the right thing, that you're working in an authentic, sustainable manner. And I think with all the things we are doing in Nicaragua and other countries as well for our raw materials, we have a lot of stories to tell to the consumer, where we are able to fascinate them, to bring up the emotional firework to the consumer, to make chocolate more emotional. And if you're talking to the customer, I think it's a little bit more different, because they have to be not only be convinced by sustainability, they have only be convinced by figures. And my opinion or my experience is that they have to put them as well in the same boat and bring to the farm, so that they can see what is all the effort you are doing in this region, and they will be more willing to honor it, what you are doing.
Interesting. I saw Suzette nodding there vigorously while you were saying that. Do you have the same experience with customers? It's more about the figures than me.
Absolutely, because interestingly, we're all a part of each other's supply chain, and so they want data, because if we take climate, for example, and commitments on greenhouse gas emissions, and we are we have our customers, we're part of their supply chain, and they want to know, what are we doing to lower our footprint? What are those numbers, so they can apply it to their greenhouse gas emissions targets? And that's just one element of all of the environmental areas. But they are very much about, so while they may want some of the emotional too, and we, taking them out into the field and showing them, they want the hard numbers as proof you are actually making progress. And they also want to see progress year over year. So that's one of the differences in speaking to the customer and the consumer. So yes, I do. I agree with those other sentiments.
Thanks, Suzette. That's a good segue into Yelena and on the reporting aspect.
Yeah, as I say, I wanted to ask you obviously about sustainability reporting. So before I do, I just wanted to pick up on something else. I think Suvi mentioned it. She touched on it. She mentioned about a holistic approach. When we spoke in rehearsal, you said sustainability from a broader perspective encompasses a holistic approach. Can you perhaps elaborate on this a bit, and then perhaps after that talk about how you work with companies on sustainability reporting, etc.?
Certainly. So I think I would like to reflect on this broader perspective and holistic view, in the sense that we want to see, and when I say we, I'm thinking about a large group of stakeholders, how organizations are making impact on economy, environment, and society on one side. And on the other side, we want to see how we can bring stakeholders together in order to drive systemic changes, in order to create this value share model for everybody, and in order to overcome these industrial challenges. So I think during the sessions, previous sessions, we talked a lot about how companies create impact on the environment, on the economy and society. But I think it's quite important to mention how sustainability and partnership can improve our industry's challenges. And I think it's important to bring focus a little bit there. And when we are speaking about challenges, we are mentioning a lot of communication during this session and before, during previous sessions. So looking at the industry-specific challenges, such as decreasing SPP and increasing rents and increasing margins, which affect the pricing and then the image that the travel industry has in front of consumer. And we should mention that we are dealing with more and more educated consumers. We are dealing with a major mindset shift, and as well with the globalization. We have a big companies such as Google and Amazon that they're bringing to our consumers, that they bring fingerprints information accessible and also delivery of the products at their doorsteps available for everybody at advantage price. So I think that this makes a role of travel industry more difficult, and this is why the business as usual it's not it cannot sustain our industry, and it's important that stakeholders work together to overcome these challenges. And when I say work together, is like align the communication. We saw during previous days an amazing really efforts at that and investment that the various companies are doing, but we saw that alone these investments would not make any sense. So if we have a great brands efforts and a lot of investments from brand side, but we don't have a great proper visibility of these brands and the space in the stores, the message to the consumer, it doesn't get it over there, right? Then on the other side, if we have a retailer that has a great mindset on achieving the great impacts on environment, but it operates in the regulated third-party facilities, obviously it gets more difficult. And finally, if you have the airport that has a great vision about sustainability but imposes short-term concessions, then the model doesn't get viable for the retailers. So here we really need to think about the creating a new resilient business model for the travel retail and create this value shared agile model. This is what's important when you speak about the sustainability from the broader perspective. And this event that here brought all the stakeholders together, it's an amazing step, and that helps a lot to bring up all the challenges and all these great examples and progress in the industry.
Obviously, just wanted to move on to, I think I just said a little bit more about the actual sustainability reporting, a bit more on that. Is it fair to say that sustainability reporting and environmental policy commitments at organisational level across all countries in the Middle East are like building credibility? And if so, why? And can you perhaps give some examples to support this?
Yes, when we speak about the sustainability reporting, it's important to mention that in the previous 20 years, we have a huge demand from stakeholder side to see how the organizations are actually dealing with environmental and social issues. And we have a growing non-financial reporting as a consequence. So when we speak about the stakeholders, we are talking about investors, we are talking about consumers, governments, suppliers, and so on. It's important to say that sustainability report represents a globally recognized set of standards and topics that one organization can use and put in the specific globally recognized framework. And this is important from the perspective, for the external and internal perspective. One, from external perspective, we are obviously collecting and gathering the data that can be cross-check in the industry, and we are creating the metrics that makes easier to progress on the global level. On the other side, we are creating credibility and transparency in gathering this data in order to improve the impacts on the environment, economy, and society. On the other side, internally, the company is not assessing only the impacts that are having on the external environment, but also actually in identifying the risk and mitigate the risk and potential opportunities through the reporting. And on the other side, also identify how operational efficiency can be done by optimizing the resources. So we are actually having here a win-win situation. But in order to do the reporting, the organization needs to obviously set their own strategy and or incorporate sustainability into the organizational strategy, and then bring this into its own governance and communicate across the organizational level and departments. In the Middle East, I prepared a couple of slides that represents like what's the situation in the Middle East, and I don't know if it's a good moment now to reflect a little bit on the region. Yeah, if it is, I will share just screen with a couple of slides. Let me see up. Here we go. Can you see the screen?
Yep, I think it's all fine at this end.
Okay, so when we speak about Middle East as a region, which is, I prepared a couple of, I looked at the local and global trends, and I just wanted to reflect on this too, because we spoke a lot about the region in the previous days, and then about some exciting, interesting examples. So when we look at the local trends, we see the regional focus and investments on the renewable energy technology and digitalization, which actually facilitate net zero impacts. And in the last 10 years, we saw a lot of new investments for the new airport terminal. And one that was mentioned yesterday is Midfield Terminal building in Abu Dhabi, and the huge expectation and ambition from the airport itself to develop like a state-of-art building and to develop the project that it's the highest rated ever globally, like building in all this new technology innovation. It's probably postponing the project and opening, but it's really amazing to see how already some elements are incorporated into this project, such as renewable, such as solar panels in renewable energy to make more efficiency on the heating side, which is quite important here in the Middle East. Then 75% of the construction material has been diverted from the landfill according to the national agenda goals. The airport has been using recycled materials and supplying materials locally to offset carbon footprint by transporting and now obviously looking in the water efficiency and so on. So it's really a great example, and we saw how important collaboration among all stakeholders is. So the Abu Dhabi actually used the top-down approach to engage the retailers in following the guidelines, and this is what we want to see more in the future. The region itself has a huge ambition to be the biggest and the first ever since. So mentioning Abu Dhabi airport, we had Etihad Airways that settled the goal by 2022 to offset 80% of the plastic during their flights. In 2019, they operated the first 14 hours plastic-free flight, which is a great initiative. We'll see where this will bring us. And then in terms of perspective for the region on the sustainability, I would like to mention that this year UAE Dubai will host Expo 2020. And sustainability, one of the key three topics is like sustainability, and sustainability pavilion is already open. So we hear more and more about the sustainability. Government is not making the rustical steps in on the policy levels, but they're definitely like setting the agendas and speaking more and moving more talks about sustainability. So one of the interesting example again from the Middle East, when it comes to top-down approach, we saw as well Dubai Airport that announced in 2019 that they will go plastic-free and phase out plastic, and then they engage 95% so far of their retailers to actually find a solution to single-use plastic, which is great to see this initiative in the Middle East as a region where which been a bit criticized about sustainability perspective. But what we can see definitely is growing consumption, conscious consumption trend. According to the later surveys, 70% of the people would claim that it's difficult to live sustainably in the UAE, but in the Middle East, but on the other side, like 70% of them claim that they would buy rather sustainable than non-sustainable product. And then we have a huge increase of SMEs and innovation around sustainability. And finally, if we would look at the global trends, which is quite important in the latest analysis, are claiming that eco-tourism should drive international arrivals to the region, and the region has to adapt in order to accommodate. So if you look at different factors such as socio-demographic factor of aging population, some of the countries in the Middle East are having already settled eco retreats, eco staycation, such as Oman, Jordan, or Egypt. But on the side of on climate change, the Middle East is not the best region as we're facing the global warming and water scarcity. And then this is where all stakeholders in travel and the tourism industry needs to really put special attention to this point. And finally, Middle East is actually leveraging quite well the economic factor of power shift between advanced to emerging economies by creating hubs of their cities and attracting tourism, logistics, and transportation, and actually is strengthening the relationship between Europe, Africa, and Asia, and retaining these Asian high-spending power passengers such as Chinese. And as mentioned before, digitalization is playing quite important role in the Middle East. We could see lately an announcement that Dubai Airport opened the home delivery service for click and collect service during pandemics, which obviously worked very well. And then Dubai Airport became the first smart reading airport by teaming up with a digital newspapers provider to give the option to their customers to have the publications and read during the airport and during the flight. And finally, when we speak about the Middle East and improvements and the next steps, we see a great commitment from 80 to 90% of the stakeholders. However, it's important to say that Abu Dhabi Airport and Etihad Airways are one to set an example by really being the one publishing the official GRI report, which is important from earlier mentioned reasons that official reporting is actually a chance that the companies gather the information and data, and they measure this data, and we can cross check this data and create industry's metrics. On the other side, sustainability reporting is important because it gives us year-to-year development. It's not about, it's about the learning curve. It's not about the race. It's not about a special magic formula that could be applied to be sustainable, to get the things right straight away. Sustainability reporting is the responsibility of the corporates to actually reflect on on the positive and the negative impacts that they're creating in order to improve. And this is what we want to see, improvements. No one is perfect, obviously. So sustainability reporting is a place and a tool where we can do the snapshot of 365 days of the year and all our efforts that we had, that the organization had, and then reflect on the sustainability development goals, on the global compact engagement, and all other industries certification and metrics. It's a great tool actually to really communicate to stakeholders all the efforts that the company is doing, and to present where the company is and where it's heading, right? So I will just stop sharing the screen.
Thanks for that really comprehensive overview, Jelena. It's really interesting on the regional perspective. And you touched on the consumer. I mean, obviously from the government perspective and corporates, there's a lot of investment in sustainability. You touched on some data from a consumer perspective. I think you said 70% roughly are interested or willing to purchase sustainable products. But what about the actual behavior on the ground in Middle Eastern countries? Do you see a lot of behaviorally speaking, recycling initiatives from the consumers, and does that differ at all from country to country?
Yes, we over the last year we studied a lot, obviously consumer engagement, because during COVID crisis we realized that consumer is the one to fight plastic pollution, because we got wrapped in plastic. If you think about the government and the safety and security and so on, so we left plastic pollution to the judgment of the consumer, right? And so we saw a great engagement. I was working on a project with the government last year where we wanted really to study the local market in the UAE specifically. We worked also on Oman, and we worked with over 100 passionate green ambassadors and community leaders here in the region, and the estimated outreach we had was around 30,000 people, which is nice little community to be really passionate and however. As mentioned, Expo 2020 already opened Sustainability Pavilion, and we can see a lot of great initiatives about and talks about how we can recycle. We can see a lot of interesting companies, local companies, and products that are very sustainable and alternatives to single-use plastics. Yesterday, I think one of them was mentioned, that how we can turn plastic bottles into yarns and so on. But what you can see if you visit Expo Pavilion is like sales of the plastic bottles, and there is no other solution to it. There is no choice, and this is exactly what it's a role of retailers and also brands, is just to bring the alternatives, to bring the options for consumers, and then the step further is educating consumers and capturing the rest of people that are less aware, but they're convertible into more conscious one. So there are some talks with the Expo how we can make it more sustainable and give more options when it comes to the water, at least, and reduce this plastic, even though there are segregation and recycling stations, and the local company that collaborates. We need to create this message for the people, and we need to work together to do it. And in order to do it, we need to have the alternatives and show the alternatives and change business.
I'm sure Stefan would say that the alternatives are there with the Join the Pipe bottles.
Exactly.
But we're fortunate to have representatives from all different world regions here. You know, you, Jelena, with the Middle East, we've got Suzette in the Americas, and we've got Suvi in the Nordics. Hauke in Germany, two very strong markets when it comes to environmentally friendly consumer behavior, and Stefan from France. So I just want to do a quick tour de table, a quick, I can't think of my English, go around all of you, the panelists, to ask from regional perspective in your markets. Obviously, Suvi and Hauke, the environmentally friendly behavior has been in the DNA, in consumer behavior for a long time. You just tell us a bit about how it works in your markets today. Environmentally friendly behavior, how really accepted and embraced it is, and we'll hear from everyone else as well. Suvi, do you want to tell us about how it is in the Nordics?
Yes, I can. You can't pinpoint just one thing where it starts from, but I think the high level of education that we have in the Nordics has a lot to do with it. That people are very educated, they are very in the know and interested about sustainability, and usually high level of education correlates directly to recycling rates, for instance. And that we can see in the Nordics, that people are super interested. They are very in the know when it comes to sustainability. They are able to challenge the companies about their sustainability efforts. So you need to be very careful on how do you communicate and what kind of things do you say. And the other thing is also transparency, that Nordic countries are the less corrupt in the whole world. So we are very honest and super transparent. And consumers require transparency from the companies when it comes to their sustainability efforts. And maybe it also has a lot to do with the past as well, or history in our countries, because we are very sparsely populated and cold countries, and we are our mentality is already built in a way that we don't have that many natural resources. So we love nature, we have a lot of pure nature, clean nature, and we want to restore that, and we value that.
Thanks, Suvi. And Hauke?
Yeah, for sure. I completely agree to Suvi. I'm completely convinced that education is key on this topic. And yeah, for sure, we're in Germany a little bit more south than the Scandinavian people, but as far as north as well. I think if I look to the generation which is younger than me, which is the future, so they are very, very interested and deep inside the topics of sustainability. And I'm completely convinced if this generation, let me call it 30 years and younger, if you don't respect their interest, and if you don't play their rules regarding sustainability, you will not exist any longer in the market in the future. Because the generation younger than us is forming the world for the future, and they will take care, they have their interests, and they are right for this. So I think it's a change inside the generations.
Interesting, yeah. All the more important to communicate to consumers about what we're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's skip across the border into France. Stefan, how is it there?
Yes. But just, we had some election in France, just after the COVID crisis, like 6 months ago. And 7 of the biggest cities in France did elect some ecologist mayor. So it was the first time that we could see something like this in France. And there will be consequences, you can imagine. For example, McDonald's France just announced 1 week ago that they will stop selling single-use bottles at the end of the year. And they were looking for solutions. So I think that it's just a question of time. But as my colleague said previously, the young generation wants the things to change. And the companies that will not change will not have any future. I mean, it's something that we have all to take into consideration, because this is the way we are going.
Indeed. Thanks for that, Stefan. Let's jump across the pond over to the States. Suzette?
Well, I think Stefan's comments resonated with me, because I feel like the consumers, particularly the younger generations, are moving forward in terms of what they're requiring of their products. And at the same time, I think those who are providing the products are also shifting because of not only consumer demand but we're also seeing the way the financial markets are moving and what they're requiring of companies. So I feel like we're in this time in the world, we're in this transition. And but yes, consumer behavior is changing, and we'll probably be reflective of Suvi's comments, where everyone is educating and wanting this in a couple of years.
Thanks, Suzette. Andy, do you have any questions from the audience you want to put to the panel?
I believe we do have one for Hauke. The question from anonymous sources: do you actually take the consumers to the cocoa farm? Is that something you do to provide maybe education? Or is that something you look to do?
So if I got it right, the question is if we take consumers to a cocoa farm in Nicaragua, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, for sure we do. If any one of our consumers is the possibility to visit Nicaragua, he will find always open doors to work one day on El Cacao. So yeah, it's a pleasure to welcome everyone there who is coming to Nicaragua. For sure, it's not so close to Germany as we mentioned, but it's very interesting to see how we work on this farm, and every consumer, everyone who's there is warm welcome.
Okay, and we just have it's kind of a question stroke comment from Beranger Felbabel. I'm not sure if my pronunciation is correct there. It says, in travel retail, teams are working remotely from around the world. And this can be for any of the panelists. How do these companies manage to engage their employees on sustainability? I guess that comes back to the role of staff, and staff having been armed with the knowledge to be able to tell that story. Maybe Suvi or Suvi could answer that one to start off with.
So I understand correctly, how is Altia as a company engaging its consumers now, employees now on sustainability?
Yeah, or how this could be done how important this is to happen in travel retail, where staff can play their part in telling that story.
All right. Well, yeah, absolutely. Our travel retail team at Altia is working very hard on educating the travel retail teams on the Altia story and the Koskenkorva brand story when it comes to our sustainability efforts. So yes, we do have work streams on that.
Okay, and maybe we can get a Brown-Forman perspective on that as well.
Sure. Actually, with the virtual environment that we have been in, it has allowed us to be actually more inclusive in our conversations. And even from a personal standpoint and doing our sustainability strategy, the virtual environment has allowed for more voices to be included in the process, more education, and finding different tools to communicate, because of the environment that we're in. And we actually spend a lot more time with cameras on and speaking to folks, and looking forward to the days when we can speak in person. But it's a different environment, but I would say we've had more inclusivity and more learning, on sustainability because of that.
Okay. And
the comment just come in actually on a separate chat. A good suggestion for you, Hauke, is maybe we could do a virtual tour of your farm in Nicaragua at some point in the future.
Yeah, it would be interesting for sure. We're working on this. We have a lot of camera teams over there who are taking films and perspectives. So I think it's a good idea to make a virtual tour on El Cacao.
So let's have a travel retail exclusive virtual tour in a future session whenever that's ready and those cameras have done the filming.
Yeah, I will talk with my colleague over this.
And just to add to that, is this something we could have in the airports? I mean, the airports. I remember going on a trip in Asia a few years ago. There's quite a lot of emphasis on virtual reality. Could we have could Ritter do like an installation at an airport where there's like some form of virtual reality where whilst people are waiting for their flights, they can go on a tour of the Nicaragua facility? It's things like that.
I think it's a technical question, but for sure it's possible. But for me, the feeling, the feel and touch is not only with pictures. So you have to breathe the air by 35 degrees Celsius, the humidity of 90%. You have to have the sound of the birds and all the animals in the background. So it's not only impression, it's also feel and touch.
I mean, Suvi talked about we have to make the topic, I think, add that excitement factor. So I guess there's opportunities there in terms of retail theatre like in addition to like the staff being able to tell the story, I guess there are opportunities around Fietta in duty-free and travel retail environments, just like there is on a general basis, but Fietta related to sustainability. I imagine. I don't know if any of the panelists have any thoughts on that, on the possibility of Fietta. Is it like Suvi? Maybe it's possible.
Sorry, I didn't understand. What was the question?
Maybe the possibility of like Fietta, like embracing like retailtainment element in addition to like the staff.
Yeah, I mean, we have discussed the same things as I refer to Håke here, that we have discussed these virtual opportunities of presenting the village of Koskenkorva, where we usually bring all the customers and travel retail customers as well to have the authentic experience of the actual village. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to do that now in this year or past year because of the COVID situation. And we discussed if we should have that virtual tour instead, but it is just not the same as I agree with Håke there, that you really have to be there and live through it. So we are currently just waiting for life to be normal and you can go there and see the farmers for yourself. But other than that, the virtual kind of aspect is something that we are evaluating constantly if we could take that further.
Okay, and time is I'm just looking here, and time is creeping up on us. So I think maybe to start wrapping things up, it'd be great to have a closing remark from all our panelists. Perhaps we can start with Stefan. Some of the key takeaways from this session, what your feeling is about the future in terms of your own projects and sustainability in general. Stefan?
Yes, but first of all, I want to thank you all for the organization. It was nice to be part of this speech. I would say that it's a very simple. I mean, sustainable is becoming more and more important. We had the opportunity to show you a little about our project, and I believe that we will start selling a lot of reusable and sugarcane bottle in the future in travel retail. We got a lot of very good reaction from customers here during the week. It has been cruise, it has been airlines, it has been duty-free shop, and it has been concessionaire. So I want to thank you everybody for giving us this opportunity to show this new product.
Yeah, we actually have a comment here, not a question. That's actually a comment from an anonymous source saying that these water fountains could be a good solutions at the airport with your own refillable bottle. I'm sure you'll definitely agree with that and be looking to establish these partnerships.
Yeah, I think a join the pipe installation in an airport would actually make quite good retail theatre and quite vivid attraction. I'm sure yes. Stefan's having those conversations right now.
Okay, and Hauke, perhaps you've got some concluding remarks?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks a lot. Yeah, for me, the conclusion of today is it's quite easy. If I look back in the last decades, maybe it was nice to have a little bit of sustainable aspects in the company on your products. For me, actual and for future, it's not enough. Sustainability is key. If you don't keep it in your DNA of your company, of your products, you're not able to take part on the future market, in my opinion. And yeah, I think the most important thing on this is that all the people who are working on this bring a lot of passion all the day. So every day, every morning, if me personally or my colleagues from our company wake up and go to work, they have a right purpose. They want to do the right thing to make the really good chocolate. And I think all other companies all over the world who are working so intensively on sustainability, like we heard about in the last 90 minutes, have a nearly same or similar purpose why they are working on these topics. And yeah, I think that's the right thing to make the future sustainable. Thanks a lot for taking part here.
I definitely can echo your words on the passion. Every speaker and the way everyone's been describing their projects, like over the past few days, we've really felt that passion and enthusiasm, which certainly bodes well for the future. Jelena, perhaps you have can provide some closing remarks for us.
Yes, I think we saw all the panelists here are having a great reports and great efforts on really doing the job right. I really enjoyed listening your stories, exploring and reading your reports. So we have to keep in mind that we have educated consumers, we have demand from stakeholders, and by reading different reports, we can easily use common sense and judgment if this report is written just by consultants, or how much engagement the company is putting into it. And as Hawk mentioned, it has to be the part of the DNA. So if you do the report, do it right, and engage stakeholders and communicate along the organization, because we have to involve everybody, which is not easy task. To write a report, to incorporate engagement, it's not an easy task. But again, being sustainable, it's not a race. It's not about being competition to each other, but it's more identifying what we can do better, what's interest for the company, and so on, and then work on improvements. It's a learning curve, like it's ongoing journey.
Yeah, just actually before you said it, I was going to say it's a journey which is going to continue in earnest. And Suzette, some closing remarks?
Well, sure. One of the takeaways for me was just listening to all of the wonderful examples from fellow panelists, and even when you put up the slide on the pitches, and even the remarks that were coming in from the audience, it struck me that the challenges on sustainability are enormous, but we have wonderful ideas and we have talents here. And as we look to finding solutions, we can look across our industries and work on partnerships. And so that struck me that I can find ideas anywhere, once I'm willing to look even outside of my industry box. And then the other thing was around consumers, that we have many different types of consumers, and it's good to meet them where they are. And so that is one takeaway for me too. And then also I'd like to say Happy Earth Day, and thank you for having Brown-Forman be a part of this.
It was an absolute pleasure, and happy Earth Day to you and all our other panelists, and to everybody listening. And last but by no means least, Suvi. Is Suvi there?
Yes. So I fully agree with the rest of the panelists on sharing the passion on sustainability and changing the world, and especially for younger generations. I think it's fantastic to hear all of your examples. So very inspiring, but also to educate everybody on the regenerative farming and raising awareness on that, and hopefully inspire more companies to take part in that, because it's an effort that is global for us. So thank you, all of you.
Well, I'm sure everybody will agree that was an enthralling session. So many important and powerful messages and so many key takeaways. I'd like to say thank you to all our panelists for all your inputs, for all your passion. As I said previously, the passion and enthusiasm we've had from our speakers has just been clear throughout the whole week. And also a big thank you to our sponsors as well. Michael, I'd like to hand over to you for some closing remarks.
Thanks very much, Andy. I'd also like to thank Suzette, Jelena, Hauke, and Stefan for your contributions. It's been a really interesting session. I'd like to remind you all that the session recording will be available soon after the session ends, if you want to watch it again, or if any colleagues have missed it. And also the videos that we saw from Altia and Join the Pipe can be seen on their respective sustainability networking hubs. So do go and check those out again. They're really interesting to watch. And you can also see Brown-Forman and Ritter's videos on their hubs as well. Thanks to all of you for watching. And of course, as Andy said, thanks to Arianta International, Brown-Forman, Coty, Mondelez International, and Ritter Sport for sponsoring this session. Please, as we've said all through the week, share your comments about this session and the whole event on social media using the hashtag Travel Retail Sustainability Week copying hashtag TR Business so we can share your comments as well and spread the good news about all the sustainability strategies in travel retail. Just changing side. The final session of the day today will begin in less than an hour at 4:30 p.m. UK time. That's purpose-driven consumption, addressing consumer concerns. And we're going to hear about how consumers are engaging with sustainable brands in travel and travel retail environment, as well as insight from the beauty category and on consumers' reactions to plant-based products. After that, we've got, as I mentioned at the beginning of the session, Happy Earth Day. Immediately after this, that session is the last session at 6 p.m. We'll be streaming the live feed from earthday.org's celebratory event, Earth Day Live. And finally, as I mentioned earlier, do join us for tomorrow's closing keynote session at 11:30 a.m. UK time to listen to Anson Bailey share the latest KPMG insights on how companies are rethinking their supply chains to create a more sustainable future. So we look forward to seeing you in a short while for the Consumer Insight session and tomorrow. Bye for now and enjoy the rest of your day and evening. And again, Happy Earth Day and thanks to you all.